Okay, good morning all. Let us start the lecture. So yesterday we completed, hope you could able to see the shared screen.
Yes,
Yesterday
ma'am.
Yes,
we
ma'am.
have completed till cause
Yes,
of
ma'am.
unemployment, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So today let us see the neoclassical microeconomic model. So in the video yesterday already you met with some topics like neoclassical economics typically. There they didn't explain about micro and macroeconomic model. So I brief about neoclassical theory. What does it? Right? So in continuation to that, in microeconomics, it was assumed that people are rational and they are always seek to multiply their utility function. When it comes to, you might have aware about utility function. What is utility function? It's there in ME, managerial economics, utility function. You don't know? Okay, hope you are searching for it. Okay, let me help you. So usually the utility function is the calculation between the hourly wages and total hours they worked and working hours given by the employer and other incomes or benefits plus leisure hours. So if we consider this utility function, I am explaining in terms of compensation. When it comes to in the labor market, if we see the framework, utility is determined by the choice between income and leisure. Actually, that is the utility function. And it is also considerable as availability of working hours. So utility function always determines between these factors like hourly wages, total waking hours, that means actually working hours, and working hours, actual working hours, other incomes or benefits by working, and consideration of leisure hours. That means exactly, for example, if an employee is being with the organization for 10 hours, so that 10 hours always it includes leisure hours, right? So in 10 hours, we cannot say all the 10 hours the employee has worked. We do have leisure hours in between, lunch break, leisure breaks, small tea breaks and all. And if it goes 9 hours, 1 hour for lunch break and all the things, 9 hours. Again, the employee is working whole 9 hours. Again, no. So that's what, taking all these into consideration, utility function, that means how far the employee was utilized for the work, what exactly the productive work given by the employees, that would be calculated in utility function. Okay. So here we have two diagrams. Figure number 3.1. These diagrams are available in your textbook. Okay. So this diagrams, this by using this utility function, whatever I explained now, this utility function and budget constraint, which can be expressed in figure 3.1. Here utility function and budget constraint, that means organizational ability to pay. This also would influence compensation management, right? That's what this utility function and budget constraints of the organization, if we express as a figure, this would be the figure 3.1. So let me explain figure 3.1 here. So this has on x-axis preference for leisure. That means hours spent per day on leisure activities. Okay. And in y-axis, we have preference for consumption. That means hours spent per day on income generating activities. That means real job elevated. So between these two, that this curve do exist. So here we have, so the curve indicates the curve where the point touches at A. So that curve indicates the combination of leisure hours and work that provided an individual at a definite level of utility. So the A point always represent by taking leisure hours, how much productivity was given by the employees. That point is expressed in the point A. So here the point A illustrates the short run equilibrium theory. That means equilibrium for the supplier of labor services. That means if you consider if this is A point is okay for the organization. Okay, so that is what they expressed. If it is okay for the organization. Here income leisure trade-off in the short run. That means that is the minimum point that can be expressed by the organization. At least if an organization is having leisure time at the same time productivity at the point of A, we can define as the organization is having good productive progress. So the slope of the budget constraint represents the wage rate here. The slope represents the wage rate. So the optimization point, which we are calling as A, that is called optimization point, which shows equivalence between the wage rate and marginal rate of substitution. That means marginal in sense, if that is the point opted by the organization, the evaluation how can we define is the organization is giving sufficient leisure hours for the employees. At the same time, productivity delivered by the employee is also at nominal rate. That means that's expected level from any organization. Could you able to follow me? Did you understood what I said? I need answer, otherwise how can I? Could you able to follow me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So we understand the point A. Okay. So here we have a this line, what we call it as tangle line or something. The straight line we have. Tangent line, yes, it's a tangent line. We have tangent line from 24 to 24. Okay, so on x-axis we have 24, that means hours. In y-axis we have 24, that is the tangent line. So this was calculated for 24 hours. So here the marginal rate of substitution, which is calculated depending on the leisure for income, also which represents the ratio of the marginal utility of leisure period. Okay, so actually I thought of inserting the functions. Can I explain this? Okay, could you able to understand the figure 3.1, which exactly determine that tangent line is for 24 hours, where the A point is the marginal utility point, or we can say it as a optimization point. That means optimize maximum. This could be achievable point by any organization. Okay. Shall I go to 3.2?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So here in 3.2, the x-axis is having number of leisure hours per period of time. Earlier it was defined in hours, that means per day. Hours spent per day. But here they express it in period of time. That means which period? That means where they are giving the leisure times. How many leisure times that they are giving. And on y-axis, income per period of time assumed, that was assumed to be spent on consumption. Okay. So this is what x and y axis are told. Here, so according to this diagram, whichever is in 3.2, it is representing its effect on wage increases. Earlier we saw what is the optimum point. So to increase the wage rates, that means how far we can increase the wages. That could be determined by using this figure. Hope you understood the concept. Earlier diagram explains that what is the optimization, what is the optimum level of point by the organization. Now we are looking at a point that is marginal utility of income. That means how this utility will affect the wages. If someone given a proposals for the wage increases and all, how we can determine? This may not be for organization alone. If some wage policy was determined, how they will deliver. So through academics only they will derive this could be the maximum wage increase can be happen, right? So by looking at the second figure, we can understand that concept. When the wage increases, so the constraint line of individuals that will increase. So if wages increase, this individual constraint line also move up. That means x2 y1 is the optimum point tangent line, right? x2 y1 is represented as optimum point tangent line. So that has to go up from x to y2. That means giving the same leisure hours. That means there is no increase in the leisure hours, that x point that will remain at the x point, but the productivity level of the employees has to increase. Then we can increase the wages. That is B point. That means without increasing the leisure hours, that means for a x point, if the productivity of the employee increased up to y2, then we can increase the wage levels. That is from A point to B point. That means if it is about x to y2, the wage level can be increased up to B. This is what the concept derived in this 3.2. You want me to repeat or could you able to understand?
Ma'am, can you please repeat the second figure, ma'am, 3.2, marginal utility of income?
Yes. Okay. So the first figure derives in hours spent per day. That means for 24 hours a day, if it is about 24 hours per day, it was explained about per day if we gave this much of the leisure time, okay, on x-axis, and the the preference of consumption, that means hours spent per day on the income generating activities. That means really the job done. So the A was expressed as optimum point where the wages could be fixed. Okay, that could be considered as wages point, A as a wages point, optimum fixation point. So if you see in the 3.2, the x-axis was converted to number of leisure hours per period of time. That means per day, for a period of time. That means if someone is working for a day shift, usually the period of time would be the lunch hour hardly for half an hour or 1 hour. Minimum we have to, as per the law, we have to give half an hour time as lunch break. Okay. If it is about night shifts, the period of time where they are giving the leisure time, again they have to determine it, right? That was kept on x-axis. On y-axis as well as that income per period of time which was assumed to be spent on the consumption. Consumption in sense the time they spent on the man, machine, material and all. Okay. That means again it is talking about the productivity of the employee. We can say it. So this 3.2 is explaining. Already we know point A is the optimization point for wages. Okay. So in this figure, they expressed x to y1. The tangent line from x to y1 is representing the point A as optimum point. That means up to that point we can have the wages. Okay. Could you able to understand until this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then look into the x2 y2. Here I'm talking about x TO2 y2. Okay, the line, the tangent line which is
Yes, ma'am.
representing between x to y2.
Right.
Okay, so in this line we have B point. That means here they are talking about wage increases, wage effects. The whole figure is representing about its effect on wages. Here they are talking about the increase, obviously, because the neoclassical microeconomic model that we are discussing in the supply mode. Supply is heavy. We are imagining that supply is already we are having supply. Okay. So here we are talking about B. B is the optimum point. That means without increasing the leisure hours, that is, X is being neutral. There is no change. But here the productivity of employees is increasing from Y1 to Y2. Then the wages could be increased. This is what they explained. Could you able to understand now?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
So still we have some more figures wherein the Y1 was dropped to YC. That means minus point. So obviously there would be decrease, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So we have so much concept in the neoclassical theory. I didn't share it because it is providing much huge information. It may lead to confusion to you people. We have C point also in other figure. So that
Okay.
C point was explained. Otherwise, I will capture and share with you, Krishnaveni. Can you share among your group?
Yes, ma'am. I'll do it.
As I have your number alone.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what.
I'll share it, ma'am.
Just a minute.
I got it, ma'am. I'll share it in the group.
Yeah. Only 5 people are existing, right? Okay, only 4. Today, Tejashvi disconnected. Divya joined, but maybe Karthik didn't join today, right? He didn't
Yes,
join.
ma'am. He didn't join. Divya has some network problem, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let it be. So if you could able to understand 3.2, that means here utility increases from point A to B. Okay, as per the diagram, the utility increases from point A to B.
Ma'am, we can't hear you.
I didn't talk at Ma. Did you
Oh,
share it with everyone?
yes, ma'am. I shared it with everyone.
I didn't. So Maunika and Tejashvi both have the figure, right? So here in this figure, the 3.3 is the figure. So in this figure, actually the wage increase can be divided into 2 separate effects. Okay. So the two separate effects is about by reducing the leisure hours, also we can increase the productivity. That means utility time could be increased by reducing the leisure times. Right? If you could, in the figure 3 that was determined. So here the pure income effect is shown in the point A, right? That is optimum point. That is the optimum point. So from point A to C, that is the movement usually if you could able to see the point A to C is the movement has happened in this figure. So in this figure, consumption increases from YA to YC. First of all, let me coming to the diagram from down to up approach. So if you see the point from YA to YC, it is assuming the leisure is a normal good and leisure time increases from XA to XC. Okay. Just I am talking about the dotted lines which is happening from YA to YC, XA to XC. That means if you see XA to YA, the dotted line which they drawn. Okay. So that was optimum point earlier they determined in the earlier figures, right? So here the A point is, if we see from the distance between the X and XA, leisure hours was decreased, right? Leisure hours was decreased and YA was represented as consumption point. First they started from YXA to YA. So first they determined the optimum point by reducing the leisure hours as well as the consumption to determine the optimum point. So here when consumption increases from YA to YC, assuming leisure is a normal good, leisure time increases from XA to XC. And the employment time was increased here. The employment time was increased here. By increasing the leisure time, the employment time was increased. So therefore, with the increase in wages which y-axis is representing, workers will prefer to substitute work hours for leisure hours. So here the leisure hours is being converted as work hours because they want to have higher wage rates. Okay. So if it was determined, so as per the productivity, if the organization is paying, then the workers are ready to reduce the leisure time also. Okay. That is what explained in this figure, because for them greatest advantage is they are having higher wage rates. They are reducing their leisure hours and they are giving more productive. That means they want to be consumed. They want to consume the time on the productive side. Okay, this is because of increase in opportunity cost. Okay, hope you understood the figure.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
those dotted lines are the expectations here. We are determining X and Y1, X and Y2 is the expected gap. We have determined it earlier. So if you see the point of C, A and B already we know. The point of C, if you look at that, the employees reduced their leisure time. Actually, they have up to X, but they intentionally reduced till XC. And the productivity went to YC. That means a little increase was happened. So depending on the opportunity cost, the employees are allowed to make a choice, if the organization, if they make a choice of reducing the leisure hours, obviously there could be increase in the productivity and there would be a choice of giving higher wages. This is what that figure representing. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So next is about labor market changes and trade unions. What are the concepts you know about trade unions? How do you remember trade unions? Just let me know what is a trade union and what is the concept of that. Without that, I cannot. Would you be able to recollect? Do you remember somewhere we have discussed about this? Hello, are you
Yes,
people there?
ma'am.
Yeah, what is trade union?
Trade union is like a group of employees or a group of members in the organization coming together.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like they are independent of the employer. So if there are any problems or if there is an issue,
Okay.
these three trade unions will take up to the management for discussions or settlements.
Okay. So is that an employee organization or employers organization? Trade unions.
Employees organization.
Excuse me. So it's an employees organization, trade union, right? So usually these trade unions are for employees' rights. So they have a right to make changes on many issues once if the organization recognizes them. That is what the concept of trade union. So whenever the presence and the activities of trade union affects the labor market functions, this concept we have to know. Obviously, there would be an influence of trade union on labor markets. Many of the trade unions are functioning for the benefits of the people. People in sense employees. Employees are nothing but the labor market in sense it's about again supply and demand. So when it comes to labor market, here not only we are considering the people whoever are working with the organizations, we are also considering the others who are capable enough to work with the organization even though if they are unemployed. That is the concept of labor market actually. Hope you understood, right? So the labor market always, you may say the unemployment is mostly affecting the country's economy, right? So that is true, but it is not about the important of the employee. That means whoever, if even though if they are deserved for an employment, they don't have opportunity to work. That's what whenever it comes to labor markets, the count comes along with the employed and also the unemployed who are capable to work and there is no opportunity for them. So what is the role of trade unions in the labor market changes? So usually the traditional role, if we look into the earlier days, the trade unions was to protect the jobs and to demand for the real earnings. That means this is the work you are giving as an organization. This much that I am demanding towards this work. So they have that feasibility to demand about real wages, real earnings in sense which would satisfy the minimum needs of a individual. That is real wages. Okay. So there trade unions almost secured the better working conditions for the workers And also they fight for the people if there is any exploitation. Depending on the offer, that means while they are joining, they have some scales, and during the work, if something was reduced and someone has lost their right to work and all, if any discrepancies as per the document and reality, they have right to ask, and they fight for the people. So, but in recent times, if we look into the participation of the trade unions, the protective role of trade unions was changed extensively. They are not so active, and why they are not being so active? This is always a debatable concept. Why the trade unions are not taking good part? And trade unions now, they are increasingly expected to work with ethical organizations. That means many organizations, they are recognizing the trade unions, but they are not following the agreement whichever made between, that is collective agreement whichever made between the employer and employee, that means employer and trade union. So if we look at the global environment action among the trade unions, usually, the opinion on the trade unions, that was always hostile in nature, but when it comes to reality, the employers are failed to implement the practices and the proper process to go with trade unions. So today, trade unions, they are being more political, which is influenced by many political parties, and they are working for the political organization. Their leadership positions are mostly into political oriented. It was done because they want, if their assumption or their belief is, unless they have tie up with the political parties, they could not get their real rights. That is what the perception made. And also the membership of the trade unions when it comes to, so usually according to Trade Union Act, do you remember how many persons do we need to get registered a trade union? Yes or no? Make it fast. As per Trade Union Act, if seven members are there, those 7 members can proceed with the registration of trade union. According to India, I'm talking about our country alone. If 7 persons are interested to form a trade union, these 7 persons can proceed with proper documentation. 7 members are more than enough to form a trade union. This is always being competitive and challenge for many of the organizations. If a small group is wantedly exploit the environment, that is, these people will go and register with the industrial tribunal, and they will insist the employer to recognize the trade union. How many trade union an employer can recognize? That means recognition in sense they are going to with tie up with the trade unions. They will have some collective agreement between this. Once if an employer recognized a trade union, definitely they have to have a collective agreement between these two parties. So that's why the membership of trade unions are being decreased. For instance, they are happy with the 7 members. If 1 person exists for, again, the trade union has to abolish their agreement. They have to cancel the membership of the trade union. So this is what happening usually in India. So in India, the trade union movement was, it's so old. That was almost started in 1920s. Trade union movements. First trade union was all in AITUC, All India Trade Union Congress, which was in 1911s. So that's how the trade union concept was very old in India, but they are not so active. So Hope you understood. So the present and activities of trade unions affect the labor market function. That means the labor market function in sense trade unions are existing, but they are unable to produce the real labor market because of the difference in the ideas, membership, unable to maintain the financial status, political influences. All these aspects are highly influencing the labor market. Okay, ma, this is what labor market changes. Do you have any queries here?
No, ma'am.
Right, Guru, you are on hold. Could you able to listen to me, Guru? He was on hold. Okay. And labor market policies. So, like earlier, we discussed about India has strong labor laws. Recently, it was amended to make it strengthen, to reinforce the strength of market, labor market. Many more reforms has happened. So we have same strong labor laws and some stringent provisions also. So the compliance of the laws was strongly recommended by the organizations, even though when it comes to the fundamental rights. So fundamental rights of the workers are always protected by these labor laws. So let us look into a few rights, what the laborers have, that means the employees are having, what are the fundamental rights, where it was discussed. Usually they have, as per constitution, it was told, right to equality. That means opportunity to get equal employment, opportunity to get equal compensation. So everything has to be equal treatment. So no discriminations, right to freedom, express a thought, express a decision, and right against exploitation. If someone is exploiting, so they have right to inform through proper channel. So these are the key three rights which are having by further labor market. In addition that we have a body directive principles of state policy, which is also a part of the constitution, which mandates state action to secure the social order. Social order in sense for the promotion of welfare of the people. People here are the employees. So people has to treat as human beings. They must not be considered as slaves. So that's what these labor laws are highly influencing the rights of employees who are existing in the labor market. And we have some labor standards like if someone is forcing to make you to employ with something, you have right to inform, and we have to that means the labor market won't be considered, won't encourage the child labor. Only the people who is from the age group of 15, those people are allowed to work in the markets. Below 15 years persons are not entitled to work and they won't be considered under labor market. And the labor market has the right to associate with any kind of the organization. That means trade union concept, whichever we discussed earlier. So there the employee's choice with whom they can make an collective agreement to safeguard their rights. Okay. So this is labor market, and let us see some initiatives for the labor welfare. We have Ministry of Labor Welfare, that's a body regulating by Government of India. So that body initiates, these are the labor welfare measures, skill development trainings. You know already we have skill development trainings initiated by Government of India, assistance and services to job seekers. We have NSDL, National Skill Development Limited. So there, if you get registered, how many of you know this? NSDL.
Ma'am, we also have this Setwin centers, no ma'am,
Yes.
where they'll teach computers and stitching.
Yes, all these come under this NSDL, right?
Okay. Okay.
NSDL. Daily I'm getting some mails. Let me. So you can log in with that body. There they have many opportunities, whichever the throughout the India, whichever the place, they will communicate you. Searching for the mails. Earlier I used to get many. Nowadays I am not. Okay, let me complete this. Later I will show you. So assistance and services to job seekers. So this NSDL will support the people giving assistance. That means if you have this graduation and you are seeking for an employment, you can log into that portal. You can register as a student. You can register as a job seeker. So you can specify the criteria where you are looking and what kind of jobs. And if you want any assistance, periodically they are organizing some programs to assist the people. So the people are allowed to attend the people those programs and all. This is how the Ministry of Labor Welfare is assisting. And labor welfares, that means welfare when it comes to the right of the labor, taking the certain leisure breaks, that means breaks in between, and they have to have some rest area. They are allowed to sit somewhere and to have lunch and all. They must have some separate space which is away from the organ. That means away from the sounds, chemicals and all. So if we consider all these aspects, those comes under labor welfare. And finally, administrations and compliance with labor regulations. Again, here we are talking about the labor laws that we have. So these labor laws are here. So primarily, if we talk about the security and welfare of the labor market. These are the key acts which is deliberately concentrating on the welfare of employees. So Workmen Compensation Act, even though it was derived in 1923, there was an amendment recently. Even ESI Act, Employee State Insurance Act. So wherein this act predominantly talks about the importance of insurance for an employee. So this, according to ESI, the contribution has to have from the employee side and employer side like PF. But this Employee State Insurance Act restricted for those who are earning, earlier it was the people who are earning up to 15,000 rupees. Recent amendments was happened. So for the people who are earning up to 25,000 rupees, those people are eligible to get this EI scheme. Under the ESI scheme, they are eligible. Are you following me, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So ESI is about that. So under this ESI, people are entitled to get the maternity leaves, entitled to get if any partial disablement, some kind of the support to the family, and complete
They'll
death
get
was happened.
medicines.
This whatever the amount that was claimed by the organization,
Ma'am, they
and
can
individual.
even get medicines in ESI dispensaries.
Yes,
Free
medical support.
medicines.
Yes, medical support will be given. So these kind of the things would be happen under ESI. And next, provident fund and miscellaneous provisions. So it was earlier, in this act also we have an amendment here, EPF. That means PF was increased from 8.5% to 12% this year. So EPF is mandatory by every organization wherein the same contribution from the employee and employer, whichever the contribution is made by the employer, that means 12% from the employee's pocket and 12% again the employer has to contribute towards the welfare of the employees. So in this also there was an amendment. And Maternity Benefit Act. We all know this is applicable for many of the people look at this act, it is only for females. But no, there was an amendment in 2014 in this act. The act is applicable for both males and females equally. But in this case, as females are entitled to get maximum of 9 months now, okay, but for males it is for newly born baby. That means for the spouse, if it is
Maternal
a
leave.
newly born baby, up to 3 months he
Yes.
is eligible to get the parental leave. Okay. If it
Yes.
is an adopted child, depending on the age of the baby, again they are entitled to get up to 1 month of the leave.
Yes.
Yeah, we have payment of gratuity. Gratuity also we have in the first class itself. I have explained it. Gratuity is also one of the benefits for the employee. Earlier it was for the employees who are with the company for 5 years with the same company. After the completion of 5 years with the same organization, then only they are entitled to get the gratuity payment. But now in 2020, it was amended that gratuity would be paid depending on the pro rata basis. Even though if an employee worked for 1 year, he is eligible to get the gratuity payment. That is 15 days of his salary is the minimum one he is eligible to get when he
Ma'am,
works with the organization for 1 year.
ma'am, is this mandatory, ma'am? Gratuity?
Yes, mandatory.
Okay.
See, the organization, how they will structure is as PF, they will deduct 12%,
Yes, ma'am. PF
12% from the
12%.
employee. Their 12% earlier, what they do is they will remit into the
Directly
account.
deposited into the PF account.
Yeah, 50% into PF and the remaining 50% they will keep it as a gratuity
Okay.
earlier.
Okay.
But now it was compelled to contribute whole person towards the PF.
Okay,
For the
ma'am.
employers because they made it separate, right? Gratuity is made it as separate one, so little amount will go towards the gratuity now.
Okay, ma'am.
Most of this government, most they initiated towards the PF accounts.
Yes, ma'am.
So these are the acts that we have for the labor welfare. So this is about the today's class. Any submissions, queries?